During my interview with Joseph Milligan, the Anne Boleyn guitarist said this.
I think at the time we were so young and the songs were so new, we needed that little bit to like kind of marinate before we actually ended up where we were.
This idea of the band needing time to develop immediately reminded me of Evanescence, and something I'd read in an old issue of Kerrang, where it highlights 2 years of artist development the band received prior to the release of Fallen. The first part of this video will run through these early days, and then I want to speak about the music industry itself, how the way labels invest in bands has changed dramatically since the early 2000s. As a class war develops in my native United Kingdom, I want to highlight the disadvantage working class people have in regard to their own aspirations to make it in creative fields. The kind of investment Evanescence received is unheard of now, and yet I would argue that now there is a precedent more than ever for current aspiring artists to be given this treatment. So what was Evanescence's journey? The band was formed in Little Rock, Arkansas by Amy Lee and Ben Moody, who met at a Christian summer camp, bonding over a mutual feeling that they didn't fit in with their other peers. Lee, in particular, was already fairly musically accomplished, having taken classical piano lessons and singing in a church choir. As their partnership went on, the two began working on home demos of song ideas, as well as occasionally playing acoustic sets in local bars and coffee houses. Over time, these demos would become more proficient and would edge closer and closer to the sound we now know them for. Moody had a lot of commercial sensibilities, while Lee admired film soundtracks and was intrigued to how cinematic and classical influences could merge with the hard rock sounds of the time. The band's early releases were more of a means to make money at shows, but 2000's origin was something more. Acting as almost a precursor to Fallen, this was deliberately shopped to labels and did gain the band interest from Wind Up Records, whose notable signing of the time would be the post-grunge Christian rockers, Creed. This is where we get to the part of the story that informs my video. The label could have sent the band straight into the studio to re-record what they already had with slightly more money. Indeed, had Evanescence come out today, I reckon this is essentially what would have happened. However, instead the label saw untapped potential and chose to view the band more as an investment, one worthy of being given time as well as money. The duo were moved from Little Rock to Los Angeles, were given an apartment, and had almost 2 years to simply develop their sound and improve their musical capability. Likewise, Amy Lee took on acting and movement coaching to help overcome shyness and really become a fully fledged performer. I won't lie, if 18-year-old Vince had been given such an opportunity, it is possible I might have squandered it, partying and basically doing everything but hone my craft. But with Amy Lee and Ben Moody, they were able to utilise this privilege and craft the best product that they could. But of course, it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Heavy investment from the label means a lot of creative interference, and Lee has been vocal about how the label insisted the band hire a male vocalist to join them. Indeed, it's crazy to think that even only 25 years ago, the concept of a female-fronted rock band was still considered unmarketable. In fact, at one point during their story, they did something truly remarkable. They said no. They wouldn't compromise, and did briefly return to Little Rock, their funding pulled. But fate stepped in, and an opportunity arose. If Evanescence would be willing to have a guest rapper on Bring Me to Life, the song would be featured in the anticipated Daredevil movie starring Ben Affleck. This was a compromise the band could accept, and history would go on to be made. In March 2003, Fallen would be released to huge commercial success, selling over 2 million copies in its first year alone. Amy Lee might not be seen to be as daring or nonconformist as, say, Lemmy from Motorhead, but it is clear that she has great musical talent and the strength to stand up for the things she desires. Though this video highlights the way the label helped the band reach their full potential, it cannot be forgotten that the real reason behind Fallen's success is its quality and the talent involved. This is a great record with a great production and great songs that transcend the formulas of the then current nu metal genre. It is also an album that doesn't cut corners. Many of the orchestral elements on the album were accomplished with real players and real instruments, and not solely MIDI instruments and synths. I would argue the album hits a real sweet spot in terms of commercial marketability and artistic integrity. Wind Up Records invested a lot into this band, but it was an investment that paid off. It was also an investment made during a time where albums were king and physical releases were generating a lot of revenue. As streaming emerged and dominated over traditional forms of distribution, revenue started travelling more to big tech and less to the record companies. Now, artists are the big loser here, with the money gained from streaming being practically nothing, unless of course you're a huge artist. But still, that lower income given to record labels meant that budgets had to shrink. I mean, after all, those CEOs and executives can't compromise on profits, can they? I can't imagine an artist being given 2 years without distractions to work solely on music. And yet right now we live in a time where some aspirers could most benefit from such an investment. Let's imagine you're an aspiring artist from a working class family. You have a low income, and so you need to work long hours in order to keep food on the table. Not only that, but the sector that you work in operates beyond that of the typical 9 to 5. Many retailers, for example, have stores that open in the early hours of the morning and shut late at night. You might be working on a rota, which means that your hours can be inconsistent week to week, and the only days off you can predict are the ones that are published on said rota. A lot of lower class or lower income jobs can also be insecure. 0-hour contracts are now a lot more common, and indeed, some sectors such as hospitality may only offer seasonal contracts. What do you do? Do you compromise your standard of living by working less and becoming more free to hone your sound? Or do you work more and risk never gaining the suitable standard of proficiency to ever get anywhere? The British pop rock artist Sam Fender recently spoke out about privilege in creative fields, saying the industry is rigged. It is possible he is being hyperbolic when he says 90% are privately educated, but I think it's fair to say that a privileged family who have little trouble keeping up with bills may have no issue with allowing their children to spend a couple of years out of work as they become truly proficient at a creative skill. Now, I do not know what level of privilege the members of Evanescence come from, and I have no desire to make assumptions. The point I am trying to make is that the time the label gave the band to work on nothing but honing their sound and artistry is a huge contributing factor to why Fallen was such a huge and seemingly overnight success. I understand why a label wouldn't consider developing a new band in such a manner now, but I find it a shame, especially for lower income aspirers, who with just that little bit of time could manifest themselves into something truly special. It is now both easier and harder than ever to create music. Anyone with a good mic and a laptop could get started right away. Studios are no longer this necessary expense, and anyone could feasibly become a producer. But becoming good at anything still takes time. And indeed, to pursue music you still require money. Money for equipment and money for distribution. Likewise, you can't simply copy the Evanescence method, creating a great demo and sending it to record labels. Nowadays, labels are also looking for a great social media presence. The 2 years of creating without distraction no longer exists. You have to write great songs, produce them well, and then market those songs convincingly, all while maintaining some kind of income outside of that. In an economic climate where it is getting harder and harder to make ends meet, the increasing individual demands of creative pursuit make this less and less attainable. And so, though I understand why a modern artist cannot expect this kind of investment from labels, I do find it a shame. And I think it does contribute to the lessening of a certain kind of voice within our entertainment ecosphere. Thank you for watching, guys. Please like the video and consider popping a comment with your own thoughts. My name is Vincent Turner, and I very much hope to see you in another video.